back to my channel. So I thought today I would do something a little bit different since I'm new to YouTube, sharing just my personal thoughts and takes or even perspectives and opinions. I can own that. On this platform, I thought I would continue introducing myself and even my space. So this video might be kind of like a mismatch of a bunch of different things. So right now I'll just share with you my general deck storage, and they're kind of like scattered all over my house, so maybe this could be an adventure. We'll see. So just starting with this area where I normally film my videos, it's kind of like a secretary desk that I have here that is also a book storage area, and this is like in our downstairs area of the house. I have my own office space, my own workspace. But what I found was I don't really like to come down here, and I think when I work with a lot of my decks and I journal and I write, and I just do a lot of personal projects, I kind of like to do it connected to a communal space. And you'll see here I already have a few decks. The decks I have up here are decks that I've made through make playing cards, and they're kind of like personal decks, so they have a lot of copyrighted images, so that's why I don't really share them. But this deck here in black, there's actually a third part that's missing, so this is like a 300 card deck, and I can like just pull one of these. It acts more of an oracle than a tarot deck. Primarily it's pop culture images that I have collected from all various favorite TV shows and movies that I enjoy watching. And primarily I did it so that I can train just tapping into my own ability to interpret images based on the image and expression itself rather than whatever keywords might be on a card. So I use this as more of an exercise. There's just tons of images in here. You're seeing mostly Mad Men images, but there's also like the show Friends, Hocus Pocus, The Craft. There's what else do I have in here? Oh yeah, Downton Abbey. So this would be like a house, castle, but it could also represent hierarchy, authority. And see, there's no keywords on here, so it makes it really easy to interpret. The Notebook. This is Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind movie. There's like more Friends in here. So yeah, that Sex and the City. So just various shows and movies that I enjoy watching. I created kind of like a exercise study deck. And then this one is similar to the same thing. It's an oracle deck, and it's copyrighted images, which is why I don't really show it or talk about it. But they're just like various pieces of photography and artwork and paintings that I enjoy looking at and interpret. So that's just for me primarily. And then I would say it's like equivalent to having a stack of magazines and then wanting to cut out the images and create your own deck out of those images. So that's kind of how I look at that. And then I have this deck here, which is the Elizabeth on Earth. Is a really good, not a tarot deck, I would say. It kind of just goes its own way, and primarily I use it more as an like oracle deck. So that's this deck here that I keep. And then just various things that people have given me. I also keep here sprays. That's like my bar of soap that I just once in a while will grab and smell it. It smells good. And then here I created my own study decks, which are in this pouch here. And then this is the Inner Child deck that I have here. And then these are my James R.E. decks. So I have the Cosmovisions one, which is an oracle, and 2 of the tarot that I have, and also the book here. So I keep this here because it doesn't fit in any of the other spaces where I keep my decks, and it's just a good place to keep the collection. This is probably the only collection that I have, just because I love kind of the artwork. So yeah, that's just in this space that I film. Sometimes I can do projects here, but it's a little rare. And in this general area, I just have like all my books that I keep here, and they're all like color coded. So and then moving below, you'll see that down here I have 3 drawers. This top drawer is primarily all of my box decks that I keep in the box, and I just stack them. And so this is mostly just box decks. Now this is not everything that I have. I do have more, but these are kind of like the backup storage, and then when I'm working with one, I'll move it into a more accessible storage upstairs. This one is primarily my tarot decks as well. So no oracle in these 2 drawers. And these are more like smaller box decks that I have. So again, once in a while I'll trade them out. I'll pull some from here that I want to work with and move it into a more accessible space, and then bring the ones from upstairs down here to store. And so I mentioned in my last video that I have limited space that I am keeping myself to. And originally it was these 3 drawers. And that was pretty good for me, but then I started spilling over. And I had discovered that I had like an additional drawer upstairs that I could also store decks in. I allowed myself the additional storage upstairs, but that's because that's more of like my working space. And down here is more of my storage space. So down here is primarily all of the oracle decks that I carry, and I'm a huge fan of oracle decks. I really enjoy how it kind of changes the message. And then for some of the decks, like this one, l'Oracle de Mir, I interpreted it from French to English. So I have like this additional pamphlet that I created. And I use these bags to keep some decks that have books with them in these type of bags. And preferably I prefer transparent bags so I can see through them. So these are all my oracle decks that I collect. And then back here are my Lenormand decks. I don't really have Marseille decks. Like I said, I've spilled over a little bit. I haven't organized this completely, but I do have a couple decks here, a bunch of journals that I have there, and then I keep I keep most of my tarot books upstairs in my working space. So I'm going to go ahead and show that to you next. Okay, so now moving upstairs, this I would consider is more my working area. I have this really awesome view out my window that I love to sit kind of on the floor at the tail end of my couch and actually use my decks and journal from here. So I'll show you that here I have the decks that I'm working with. I'm using one hand to do this, so bear with me. Yeah, so these were some of the decks, newer decks, and some older decks too that I enjoy working with, or that I've been working with more periodically this month. These are kind of the bags I was talking about. So some decks that come with a book, I will store them in these more transparent bags, which makes it a lot easier to keep them together and be able to pull them out. So you can see there, this is my herbiary, crystallary, and bestiary. I think that's what it is all together in one. So since that's such a big deck, it kind of keeps it all together. So when I use it, plus I have the books with it, so very easy. And then I do have some tarot books that I keep here, and then I also keep some by my bed that I normally might read with. Up here I also keep, in this tin is my my playing card decks. So that's, you know, if you want to know a little bit about how I got into tarot, I started with playing cards, and my grandmother handed me a playing card deck. That's kind of like, I would say, gateway into cartomancy in general and tarot deck collecting. So I also keep a journal up here, and I'm really big into board games, and I did get this one tarot game from Kickstarter that I haven't actually had a chance to play with. Yeah, so The Light and the Mist. So I got this. This is probably one of the only decks that I have not actually played with, because it's technically a game. So I'm planning on playing this with my partner. Maybe for Halloween we can do that. Yeah, there's my Traveler Oracle deck that I normally carry with me everywhere. And then this is just like cards. So this is my working drawer. I'll just show you that what I do is I pull this little there's like a deck in every crevice. You can use the bathroom, and there's a deck in there too. I'm just kidding. But I pull out this little stool here, and I use that to sit on. Before I was sitting on the floor, and it was kind of difficult because my legs would always fall asleep. And then of course I have some decks on my coffee table. This is my Oracle deck here, the Awake one that I love. So that for coffee in the morning, I can pull a card if I want to. So basically now what you see is me sitting at the edge of my couch, and that's kind of where I play with my decks and do any readings. Okay, so this is primarily the space where I will actually do my readings and also journal. Strange, because I have like a table I can work from, I have a desk downstairs I can work from, but for some reason it's just the ambiance and the energy of this space that feels the most comfortable to me and the most reflective. So I have my Jane Austen Tarot Deck here, which is actually a playing card deck. So I primarily use it to play it's like a version of Solitaire, and it's the version of Solitaire that my grandmother taught me with playing cards. So primarily I would, if I'm not doing a reading and working with different tarot or oracle decks, or studying them or reading or journaling, I'll play the version of Solitaire that my grandmother taught me. And so I thought I would do that here and maybe just talk a little bit about how I grew into tarot, and you know, maybe a little bit about myself and some background information. Also, I kind of have a theory as to why I collect tarot and oracle decks, so maybe I'll go ahead and share that here. Really quick, I'll just tell you what I normally do for this version of Solitaire. And I don't really know the name of this type of Solitaire, so if anybody knows that if there's a name for this type of Solitaire, I'd greatly appreciate knowing. I think my grandmother told me when I was young, she just said Solitaire, but I call it Canadian Solitaire because she's French Canadian, so I'm guessing it's a version of Solitaire she learned when she grew up on a farm in Montreal. Basically what you do is you make a vertical pile of four cards, and then you put 4 cards total in each pile face down. So, well, hold on. So you make 4 piles with 3 cards face down in each pile, and then the 4th card is turned up. So there's 4 cards in each pile, And then what you do is you turn over your first 3 cards here, and the top card on the first 3 cards is the one that starts the game. So the top card is a 5 of hearts, so that goes to the top. And what you're doing is you're doing it by suit. So now this is the heart suit row here, and then you want to try to get the get this row filled with the hearts or cups of that suit on top, because in order to play the next row and the 3rd row and the 4th row of each suit after, you have to have it appear. So I have a 5 of hearts. Now in this pile is a 5 of diamonds. So I can take this, because I have the 5 of hearts here, I can now create the next suit row, which would be diamonds. So 5 of diamonds here, 5 hearts, 5 diamonds. And then I would turn this card over. And so now, anytime I come across a heart for the heart suit row, I can just place that up here. And then in order to play the next subsequent rows, I have to have that card above it, okay? So I realized I kind of messed up because I filmed most of the game playing from afar, which probably would have been easier to show you from above. So I'm going to do just a quick video layout as to how the game would be set up if you're interested. So basically I'm going to do my, and I'm doing this with one hand, so please bear with me, but I'm going to do my vertical row here. Move this up. I'm sorry, I'm also doing laundry, so I don't have any like covering on my bed, but just want to get this out really quick. So that's 3 cards so far here, and then the 4th card will be turned up as so. The reason why I love using this Jane Austen deck to do this game is because the illustrations for each card makes it a lot of fun to play with. So okay, and then you're gonna, once you have your 4 piles of 4 cards with the top turned over, you're going to count out 3 cards from your hand deck playing pile, and the first card that turns up is going to make your first row. Now my grandma used to say if you get diamonds in the first row, that's usually a good sign that you're going to win the game, but that's not always true. So yeah, so the first row is going to be diamonds, so you want to build your diamond row in order to build the subsequent rows below. And as you can see, I don't have any diamonds along here, no diamonds in the pile after, so I'm going to count out another 3 cards. And still no diamonds, so nothing's changed. Still no diamonds. Now I kind of skipped over that because I have a 6 diamond here, I have a 6 club here, so I can actually play this, and I would turn this card over like that. Okay, and so the next row is going to be the suit club here, or the suit of clubs for the second row. And so then I'm going to continue turning 3 cards at a time. So now I have a jack of diamonds, so that's going to go up there. And I have a jack of clubs, so that's going to go there. Turn over 3 cards. 4 of diamond goes up here. Okay, and I'm going to see if I have any cards that can follow There's a king of diamond right here. There we go. And a 3 of diamond. I'm not sure that these were shuffled, but I just want to show you an overview. I'm going to slip this into the video so you can see just how it looks from above when you're playing this game. So, another 3 cards. Okay, ace of spades. Another 3 cards, 3 of hearts. Now I do have a 3 of diamond here, but I don't have a 3 of clubs, so I can't play this 3. I cannot play this 3 of hearts. All right, Jack of hearts. So I could play that here because I do have Jack of club and Jack of diamond. So that's essentially what you're doing. You're trying to build up these rows. You're trying to get rid of these cards here and play all these cards. You're also trying to play the cards in your hand. And, you know, remember, you want to be watching both these cards here and these cards here. Because sometimes if you miss seeing one card that could have been played, it means that you can't access other cards. So then that kind of, you know, screws you. I love playing this game. It's a great game to play if you're feeling like nervous or anxious, or you just want to zone out on a game that's very easy to do. And you know, I might play this 10 times in a row. So I hope you like this, and back to the video. Any of these cards I can't play because they all don't have the same number above it. So this is like a 7 of diamonds. I don't have a 7 of hearts above it, so I can't play in the diamond row. So then if I don't have anything, I'll turn over the next 3 cards. 10 of hearts. I can play the hearts in the first heart row here. Now the first row can be any suit. It just happens to be a heart suit because that's the first one that I had turned over. But it can be any suit if you play a new game. So now that I have a 10 of hearts here, I can play 10 of diamonds if I come across it. But I can't play a 10 of spade or 10 of clubs because that's not present in the previous row, if that makes sense. Okay. Now the way you can use this kind of as a divinatory tool is when you get to the very end, you know, whatever card you're left with, because sometimes you'll be able to play all your cards, the cards on this side plus the cards in your hand, except maybe like 2 at the end or 3, and you could see if there's a message in there. Now this particular deck does come with a little book because I think this is not typical tarot structure. First of all, this is only 53 cards. Like, for instance, they gave 9 of diamonds is the Hermit, 10 of diamonds is not a major arcana card. So yeah, anyways, I thought as I was doing this I would tell you a little bit about how I came into tarot. And oh, just one quick thing. So I have an 8 of hearts, an 8 of diamonds, and now I have an 8 of spade. So I can go ahead and play that. And underneath there was a 7 of diamond, but since I don't have a 7 of heart, I can't play my 7 of diamond. So I'm going to continue on. Now I do see though I have a 6 of heart and I have a 6 of diamond here. So I can play my 6 of diamond. I'll turn this card over. Now I do have a 7 of heart under here. So I can play my 7 of heart in the first row. I also have a queen of heart. So I can play my other queen of heart there. And a 9 of diamond. Well, I can't play my 9 of diamond because I don't have a 9 of heart. But moving down the line, here in this next row, since I was able to play my 6 of diamond because I had a 6 of heart, now I have a 6 of spades. So I can play that in the spade row. King of heart, so I can play that in the heart row. 3 of diamond, I do have a 3 of heart, so I can play my 3 of diamond. There we go. And now in the pile that I was playing, my playing pile, this is a 7 of diamond. And I do now have a 7 of hearts, so I can play my 7 of diamond. And this is a 6 of club. And I do have a 6 of spade, 6 of diamond, 6 of heart. So now I can play my 6 of club. There we go. Okay, yeah, so anyways, so I got into cards from my grandma. She gave me a deck of cards to play this game with when I was a kid. And I would just play it every time I would visit her. And we would play other card games, so that was a lot of fun. And then one of my aunts had a tarot deck, and it was the Tarot of Nova. Basically one of those little pocket decks that you could buy from the bookstore. Has, oh, I should have showed you guys. Maybe I'll insert a clip of that particular deck because that's what started it all. And she had that deck, which is like basically a deck with like cats and some circus figures on it. I started playing with it at her house, and she ended up, I forgot how it came into my possession, but somehow it came into my possession. Beginning at the age of like 7, I've always been into like magical thinking and just, you know, nature of things unknown, connected to nature, and just kind of like, you know, I have a very psychologically minded and a metaphysically minded mind. That's just like the nature of my interests. And I've always pondered the nature of the universe. I grew up in various faiths and religions, denominations, Catholicism, Christianity, Seventh-day Adventist, to name a few. And so I was kind of exposed to a varied number of belief systems. And I never subscribed to one, but I was open to kind of hearing the messages and weighing them against my own knowing, understanding of life and beyond life. That's just where my head was geared. So somehow I came across, well, I was always interested in astrology too as a kid. And I'd collect books that would discuss astrology. And somehow I came across Wicca. I forgot how, but I started studying it when I was around the age of 10. And I even created my own like study guide journal that I had cut and paste and put together various amounts of information concerning. Okay, so then I'm on that path of studying Wicca, and I have my little tarot deck that I play with in my family, because my family is very religious in various different contexts. So I think I just kind of like shunned it in a sense, and I got rid of my journal, and eventually I got rid of the deck, and that's where it stopped. And that was like in my teens when I stopped pursuing learning and, you know, interacting with those forms of knowledge-based mediums, or should I say knowledge expansion mediums? I'm not sure. Then fast forwarding, oh, that'd be like 10 years, and started to get into tarot cards again. Well, I was going through a lot of personal changes in my belief system. I was also just going through a lot of like grief and loss, and I think at the time I was just looking for something to believe in, and my old coping skills, my old beliefs were no longer serving, or maybe I was just forgetting, I don't know. But yeah, so back in walks tarot and oracle. You know, I started picking it up. I forgot which deck was the first one I purchased, but I want to say I was just in a vulnerable space. You know, I wanted to believe in something, and I do believe in things beyond what we can see, touch, and feel. So because that's where my head was at, then I started picking up tarot again. It wasn't until I met my partner that I began to kind of embrace the part of me that I had been suppressing for a long time, because of where I live too, geographically speaking. not a very open community. Even though I come from a big city, you know, there's no emphasis on that sort of metaphysical oriented space of just alternative belief systems that stray from the most popular. I'm sorry, I'm at a loss for words as to how to convey that, but basically it wasn't until I met my partner that I was able to start opening up and accepting parts of myself that I had suppressed because of the people around me or the context of the environment, didn't support it. So then moving to a different geographic location, I opened my eyes to seeing how open people were with their interests and kind of leading with their individuality, even if it went against the masses or the norm. Just reflecting on some of the videos that I watched that discuss consumerism and addiction. So I'm not sure how I feel about, I'm not sure I'm at that place about how I feel about saying that I have an addictive personality, or, and I totally respect that, people interpret that for themselves in that way. But I'm not sure how I feel about it because I'm still trying to understand it and piece it together and process. But yes, there is a part of me that overconsumes, and for a lot of people, they said if it wasn't tarot, it would be perfume. Well, for me, if it wasn't tarot, it would be clothing or shoes or books. Like, books is probably the biggest thing that I consume. And if it wasn't anything tangible or material, then it would be something conceptual, because knowing myself, I have always been the type of person that just wanted to consume knowledge. Yes, consume knowledge in any form, in any way, and expose myself and test my beliefs against it. The way I grew up, we were very poor, I would say. I wouldn't say we were broke. That's something different. Broke means that, you didn't have money. And I like to be clear about the differences between being broke and being poor, because I think it is a reframing thing to say you were broke, not poor, because there is different various levels of broke and poor that exists in our world. Broke is saying you didn't have any means of resources or money. Poor is saying you did, but maybe your parents mismanaged it, or maybe it wasn't enough to cover. Like, I remember my mom trying to make $100 stretch a month for a family of 5 to eat. That's very hard to do today in modern day. Back then, $100 was a lot of money, but still was not enough. That didn't interrupt my consumption of things or knowledge, because even though we were without a lot back then, for instance, books for me, I would go to the library and check out books, but I could never keep them. I could never keep my favorite books. We couldn't buy my favorite books. So the only things that I was consuming were things that didn't cost money. So maybe playing card games, at my grandparents' house with my grandma. That's kind of just all I would do repetitively. Journaling is, you can over journal. I was spending my free playtime choosing to do workbook journals where I was reflecting on self to grow self, at the age of 8. That was something I truly believed that would be helpful to me. So, over journaling maybe, or even over working out. I've been working out since I was in middle school, and I would do it like 2 hours a day, multiple times a week. Not thinking that was excessive, not thinking I even needed it. I would just do it because it was something to do, and it was a way to keep myself from being bored, and it didn't cost anything, and it was something I could still overconsume. So it wasn't until I got my first job that I was able to have resources, money, and that's where the snowball of consumption came in, and consumerism really played a part in funneling the abundance for me to spend my money or give my money away on various things. And so I think watching one of the YouTube videos, she discusses, our attachment to things, okay? And so I really enjoyed listening to that video because she hits on some really good points about where the attachment of things comes from and how it's linked to control and all that stuff. So, just some of the things that I was thinking about while she was making these connections is that as a kid, because I couldn't keep things, I think that was the perfect breeding ground for me once I had access to it, that I could keep it, okay? That's one part of it. The second part of it is, so I'm already coming from a lack mentality. Also the lack of privacy. So I had two sisters, I was always around them. They were the type to, break into my journal or take something if they wanted something without asking. And like she mentioned, she had a lock on her door. There was a period of time where I had a lock on my door. And even when I also went to go take a shower, I needed to make sure my door was locked because I didn't trust that my things would be respected, okay? Also, I grew up with a sister who didn't value things. She values people. And I like to make the distinction between that because people are different. And it's not a bad thing for people who value things, not to have so much emphasis on the people, or people who value people to not have so much emphasis on things, because you need a good balance between the two. But the reality is that from my perspective, things are more reliable than people. From my perspective, I've kept things longer than I have kept people in my life. So from my perspective, it would make sense for me to value and maintain and protect and preserve the things. Not to say people aren't important to me, because I have a partner, I have a dog I've had for 16 years, I have family members and that I love dearly and that I prioritize more than anything. But the part of me that is important are the things and people that are in my life. And I think I'm aware that my attachment to things come from them belonging to me and being an extension of myself. Therefore, I must take care of them. And so I have a respect for things. And I remember a friend of mine in my 20s saying, you personify things. Like, I give things a personality, a personhood. And I didn't really understand what she meant, but here I am like 12 years later, now finally understanding, yes, I personify things, But I think it's because when I was growing up with a sibling who did not respect, preserve, protect, organize, create order of things. She did not have things that she kept for herself, that she took care of. And so when we would like share a room or something, I'm like offended that, she's not taking care of her things, and I can't let her play with my things because, she's going to damage or break my things, and I am responsible for my things, right? So, I always felt kind of like isolated and alone because I couldn't share my interests with my family because we didn't have similar interests. So naturally, I think I felt very guarded with my things because I knew that had I let her play with my things, I might end up with something broken or something might be missing and then I couldn't replace it. So, that's another, there's no 9 of heart here, so I can't play this 9 of diamond. Well, losing my train of thought here. So anyways, all this to say that, I've also been thinking about the role that social media and YouTube plays in my attachment to things, and especially having a tarot and oracle deck collection, that has just ballooned over the last few years. For me, it's more about just understanding and identifying you know, the links between my proclivity to have this growing collection and my attachment to these things, and then personifying them as like she mentioned, Mistress Ray mentioned having a deck and then giving it away and realizing, no, it's having that particular deck because you have that particular relationship with it that cannot be replaced even by a same deck. So yes, I also had that same thing with that little tiny Nova Tarot. You know, it wasn't the deck that my aunt gave me no longer. Once I got rid of it and I even tried to replace it, it's not the same. It doesn't have the same story, the same meaning, the same history, you know. And so now for me, it doesn't make it difficult getting rid of things or getting rid of, you know, even tarot oracle decks, because like she also mentioned, unless I'm using it, unless it has a place in my life, and even if I'm not using it but I'm keeping it for a specific reason, like I love every single, you know, art piece in this deck, I'm not going to put it on my walls, but yeah, I can contain it in this small little packaging here and enjoy it once in a while. So it has to serve a purpose, because if I don't have a connection to it, if it doesn't serve a purpose, if it's not something I can learn from or enjoy or have other people enjoy it, then I'm going to get rid of it. I'm not going to keep anything. And she illuminated also the how people move from one place to another and then they buy all new furniture. And I also keep a very curated collection of things, including furniture and stuff like that. So when I move, I might get rid of a few things that I know I don't want to use anymore, but I'm dead set on that. I rarely would regret getting rid of something and then wanting to get it back. That's kind of unusual. So almost everything I've had, I've kept for the past like 10 years. And even, 10, going off actually 15 years. So even like I have 2 couches that I love. One's like this old mid-century vintage couch. One's like a newer, more modern couch. And I refuse to get rid of both of them because I just love them. And I've been able to work them in whatever place I live, even if it's like a small 1-bedroom place. I've been able to work in the 2 couches so that I create the environment I want with the things I love. So, all this to say, you know, like a lot of other people, before even coming across these YouTube videos that discuss these various connections between why we have these things and addiction and consumption and consumerism and, you know, collection and all that, and culling and what is that? Deck decluttering, you know, just decluttering in general of your life. Before that, I was beginning to think, am I just buying decks to buy them? I'm just going to set them to the side and not use them. And knowing myself, not likely, because I am pretty picky as to what I bring in and what I keep. And it's not likely that I will feel inclined to buy something. I'm not saying it's not going to happen, because it's already happened. There's already like, I can already think of 2 decks in my collection that, I don't even like the word collection, but anyways, 2 decks in my space that does not reflect me, and I wanted to give them a chance because there were people online that were talking about them, and that's okay, because that's like seeing a hobby and thinking you're going to be good at tennis, and then you actually do it and you suck. So, you know, it's okay. I allow myself to try things. But again, I think it's just being mindful of who I am, what rings true to me, and then mentally separating that from, okay, I see this thing, I'm interested, I'm going to try it out. Not to say it's for me, but at least I'm conscious that I'm making this purchase on top of everything that I own already to try something. And that's okay. My theory is our ancestors hunted and gathered, and they did that every day of their lives, and it was something that they did. So nowadays, because we don't have to hunt and gather as much as our ancestors did. It's a lot easier to walk into a store and pick up what you need and leave within, 10-15 minutes. Or, if shopping's your hobby, it could be 2 hours, whatever. But because that has made it easier for us in modern day, those skills and the time and effort it took to hunt and gather have lessened significantly. But that doesn't mean that, that's still not in us. That's still not in our DNA to hunt and gather. Because, I see my mom hunting and gathering things from, like vintage shops, secondhand stores. And at one time she did it because, again, our family was in a scarcity, have always been a scarcity mindset, but that, for her, if she can get a good deal on something and be able to keep the thing, that's a win-win for her. So from a survival or scarcity mindset, to buy something cheap, but still also like it, have a connection with it or want it, creates this I don't want to say a high, but it's a win-win situation in that case. So basically all this to say that hunting and gathering primal instinct does not go away just because in modern day we are hunting and gathering things. My overconsumption is on collecting things that to other people may look immaterial. And of course, like all other videos have mentioned, you can do it to a degree that can hurt you if that is the case. So that's just the spectrum that I like to look at it on, is that when this does begin to hurt you or hinder you, that is the sign. And for me, the sign was when I purchased a $200 deck. There was a deck, the Healing Ways Tarot, that from the moment I saw it on Kickstarter, I had a connection with that deck. I really wanted that deck. I passed on the deck, and at the time it was like $50, I think, or less. And I regretted my decision. And then I found it online, and I think it was 150 or 200. I bought it for 200, and that was the thing that broke the spell. Realizing something I could have bought for a quarter of the price now cost me because I skipped on it. But really, in actuality, how important is collecting these things in the grand scheme of, connecting with or getting back in touch with those various interests that I had as a kid that I can now indulge in, or not indulge in. That's like because there's indulge in as far as like debt collecting, and then there's exploring or experiencing as far as the more spiritual, metaphysical aspect of it, and psychological as well. All this to say too that this, I recognize, is a form of me connecting with that child part of me that couldn't keep these books, that couldn't keep these decks, that couldn't explore openly, this area of interest, and just like learn about it. And whether or not I stick with it long term, which I think I will, because I think cartomancy is, in my blood, but because I acknowledge that I am also playing into the child part of me that couldn't have these things, I am now exploring that today. And it could very much be linked, if people want to put labels on it, it could very much be linked to midlife crisis. You go out and you live the life you never lived because for some reason you couldn't live it before. Because if it's not this, like some people say, it can be something else, and it can either be something that will cost money or not cost money. If it costs money, for me, it could be books, it could be travel experiences, it could be buying gifts for other people, it could be you know, coffee even, you know, so I can't get away from that, you know, but maybe replacing those things with things that cost no money or less money, like working out or checking books out of the library, or, you know, going to places where you can trade decks, you know, rather than buy and sell, you trade. So there are ways that now, if I'm engaged in those things, there's still overconsumption there, a possibility of overconsumption into that in that place of excess, right? But yeah, so I just want to take a moment to say that I am deadlocked. So my only options are to play from my playing card hand an ace of clubs. I do not have an ace of spade in the previous row, so I cannot play my ace of clubs. I do have an ace of diamonds, but I don't have an ace of spade, so I cannot play the ace of clubs. So then I have a 9 of diamond. I don't have a 9 of hearts, so I can't play a 9 of diamond, which means I cannot play this 9 of spade. So now I have 3 cards that I cannot play, and probably the cards that I need are under here. You can see there's a 9 of hearts under here and an ace of spades. So I would need both these cards in order to finish my hand and finish all these cards and win. So you can see now I didn't win because I can't play any more cards. And what I'm left with is an ace of club, which the major arcana card for this that they attributed was strength. So this is the strength card of the major arcana. And also I got the 9 of clubs, which they attributed the sun, major arcana, to this card. And there is a little quote here. It is well to have as many holds upon happiness as possible. Interesting. So yes, so I just want to say that this is only my experience, this is only my opinion, and it's so that, you know, as I'm posting videos, you know who you're watching information from. It's a way for you to get to know me, and I know everybody's not going to agree with me. That's fine. You know, I actually want to hear your thoughts in the comments. I'd rather hear, you know, what resonates with you and your experiences. And I just have a different perspective on it. I come from a different lens about it. And even though I put up videos that share the decks that I have, I want to make it clear that it's because when I was a kid, I wanted to have someone to connect my interests with. I wanted to have, you know, people or friends that I could share what we have with together, and we can like learn from each other and stuff. And that wasn't available. So this feels very existential, but I don't foresee myself posting videos long term just showing decks, because I think there's just so much more to me, my life, my interests, and you know, how I want to connect with people. I'd rather share more about myself. So which is why I've included journal readings. I played this game with you today. I mean, I hope the instructions were clear enough. I know you can't really see it from where you're at, but I try to make it so that you can. I'm sorry if I didn't. And I just wanted to share these thoughts with you because I was beginning to feel like I wasn't on the right course for posting videos and just connecting with people and sharing information with people. Not because my videos didn't really convey what I'm trying to convey here, but it's just that long term I could foresee, okay, that I'm more in the realm of the people who are critically analyzing, okay, their behavior and their motives behind, you know, why they're into spiritual and metaphysical topics, and why they collect decks, why they collect things, why they have these relationships with these things that, you know, I can never replace this deck. If it burned down in a house, I would be sad, and why I would be sad, you know. And really, I'm on YouTube talking to you because I've been the hermit for so long, you know, and I want to branch out and connect with people in my areas of interest. That's what primarily I'm on here for, you know. I enjoy sharing like my decks and what I have. I hope that you've learned a little bit about me, and that when you're watching videos you kind of have a feeling as to what to expect, because I don't think that this channel or these videos are going to be competing with deck unboxings, deck reviews, deck walkthroughs, deck flip throughs. You know, the decluttered video I did was probably a once in a while, because I really doubt I'd be getting rid of decks often, since the ones I bring in tend to be the ones that I connect with and keep. Another thing I will tell you is I can usually tell if I'm going to keep a deck, because right off the bat I'll trim it and edge it. Whereas I do have decks that I have not done that with, and I also feel a resistance to like connecting with them. Like, I'm not sure really that that's going to be a deck that's going to stay with me. So I've not edged it or trimmed it, just in case I end up getting rid of it. So that is another indication that I can usually tell that something is meant to stay with me. I will personify it or personalize it in a way that is true to me or fits what I want. Okay, so I thought the last thing I would do is the accountability measure. The accountability measure is just that kind of ledger or list of decks and how much that costs. So I'll show you mine because, you know, this was a part of this process that I've been going through for quite a few months of trying to understand, like, where is my limit going to be? But I think I'm at the point where everything that I'm interested in and the quality that it's going to be made in and the price that is going to make sense to me, you know, we're passing that. Because once I'm starting to buy decks that are in the $50 to $70 range, I'm getting close to my cutoff. You know, that $200 deck that I missed out on that could have cost me a quarter of the price and would have been just as great quality, that was a wake-up call for me. That happened, I think, it's like a year ago or a year and a half ago. For me, as the price goes up and the quality goes down, you know, I just know when it's going to be time to dip out of that scene and be happy with what I have. And what I have, I can work with for a lifetime, however long that is. You know, when I'm a little old lady and I have all these decks, you know, I'm going to have something to do, and I'm okay with that. Let me show you that ledger really quick. So I was going to show you my ledger. The list I had put together with regard to my tarot and oracle buying. I had two decks that I think I acquired back in 2016, and then I had originally just one deck that I had as a teenager that I let go, I think when I was like 19, so that was maybe back in 2006, maybe, I don't know. So anyways, as of 2019 is when I was starting to purchase more decks, more tarot and oracle decks. So this list also includes books and playing card decks. And I had a lot of playing card decks before this time, so there's not going to be that many here. I actually kind of have a rule on buying playing card decks that each card has to be illustrated for me to keep the deck, so that I don't just keep buying playing card decks and they're kind of like all the same. So actually maybe I will do a video on my playing card deck collection just so you can see it. But anyway, so in 2019 I kind of labeled here along the pricing: oracle, Lenormand, playing card deck, tarot deck, and books. So that's what that is. I wrote the date and then just the items that I purchased. And you know what's really cool about this is, like, you'll notice the prices will increase as I go through the years. So in 2019, we're looking at decks that are less than $20. Then you move in, and I don't collect indie decks because I just don't want to spend that much. I try to just collect mass market mostly, or just, you know, if I can get a good price on a out of print deck, I might collect that. But in 2020, you could see that the prices begin increasing. Now we're into the $20 to $30 range of decks. And I think this was my favorite finding. I don't get like astronomical shipping prices because I live in the US, so I wouldn't completely blame it on that. But yeah, I mean, you still have some cheaper decks here, but then now you can see as of 2021, now it's jumped into the $30 to $40 to $50 to $60 range. And 2022, which is almost over, now you can see the prices really jump. And this is not something that I'll probably keep up with, but itemizing it like that definitely helps me to see. It just checks me, that's all. It's just checking me, and it's helping me question whether or not this is something I want to continue investing in, you know, because I do enjoy using tarot and oracle. I do enjoy it a lot. So it's not like I'm not going to use these things. It's just, when do I stop buying them, right? And so 2019 was when I was still in school, and 2020 is when the pandemic hit, and you can see that list is going to be longer. It's probably going to be longer for everyone. And then in 2021, it tapers off, but also the prices increase. And 2022 is still a long list. And so I have calculated the totals. I will not say it here. From my perspective, you know, not to make this sound like an excuse, but we all pick the areas that we want to invest in. We get to choose where we want to spend our money and where we want to put it. And, you know, it's hard to define addiction. It's hard to define overconsumption. If it's hurting you, it's hurting you. For me, on a primal instinctual level, it's hunting and gathering. And when I observe the primates in my family, or when I observe the people in my family, even my partner, you know, video gaming is his thing. When I observe it, to me, it looks like the effects of hunting and gathering, but in modern day, because we no longer have to spend that time and energy chasing our own food, or chasing the tools and the, you know, resources necessary to build our home, or to build a village. So as time has gone on, the need to spend time and energy doing that sort of hunting, gathering, building has lessened. And now, because we have currency, you know, we get to choose the areas that we funnel that into. And it's not wrong or right for anyone. If it is hurting you financially, spiritually, mentally, psychologically, physically, those are opportunities to reflect and to observe and to dig deeper into why and how we can make conscious choices to influence that. You know, for some it's scarcity mindset. For some, maybe they've gotten to have everything they wanted their entire life, and you know, they can't stop because of that's their habit, that's what they're used to. But for me specifically, it came from not having these things when I was younger, not being able to connect with others on these subjects when I was younger. And so that's why I do it now. And I'm aware of it. So, well, this was a long video. There was a lot of talking. Sharing these videos, sharing these thoughts, opinions, sharing my space, sharing my decks. You know, this is not gonna be me trying to sell you anything, because that is not the purpose of me being on here. It's actually just, hey, I'm here, I have this interest, it matches your interests, you know, like let's connect, let's share. I want more of that. I want that more in a community form. And maybe it's not always feasible to do it in physical form, like in person, but this is an outlet for that. Not to say other videos that are selling decks or showcasing decks are not also needed, because I use those to really determine whether or not I want to buy a particular item. I wouldn't want it to be the standard where that is not available, because I like seeing what I get. And so I like people who spend the time to do that for me, so that I can see what I'm going to get and I know what I'm getting. And yes, it is annoying if the reviews are not honest, and you can tell when they're not honest. You know, I bought Spacious Tarot recently, and that cardstock is going to make it really difficult to riffle shuffle at all, which is something I love to do with my card. So that's going to really impact my relationship with that deck. And had I known that the cardstock would make it difficult to shuffle, and if you shuffle it, you could potentially bend the cards, I may not have spent as much as I spent to buy that deck, even though I love the artwork. For me, I wanted to use that deck. I wasn't going to just keep that deck for the artwork. So yeah, okay, I think that's it. But yeah, if you have any thoughts, just please put it in the comments. You know, don't forget to like, subscribe. You know, if you unlike, my feelings won't be hurt. I'm cool with it. But, you know, I wish you all the best if you're on this journey or process of self-discovery and trying to understand habits through, you know, acquiring things, having relationships with things or collections. You know, what does that mean to you? What does that mean to your faith, your spiritual practice, or even just your varied interest in, you know, different things. So hope this was thought-provoking. I really appreciate the people who have added to this conversation. And I think what I'll do is, in the description box below, I will include the two videos, links to the two videos that kind of have been thought-provoking to me, okay? And that I feel like I was able to resonate with their message and the valuable information that they included in this discussion. So until next time, thank you for coming with me on this journey, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.